Greetings, good afternoon. So
It's your birthday.
I don't know. Did I put the right thing on this? The title. I got distracted and I might not even put a title on this
Okay, if you're just 3SPN and live.
thing. Okay. No, I put who is the Antichrist. Who is the Antichrist in there? So anyway, that's fine. Um, so I'm just gonna share this with some other friends. Showing the series lights from a distance as the New Horizons spacecraft. Oh, no, maybe it was the Dawn spacecraft. I get those mixed up between the one that went to Pluto at the same time, actually, which was pretty interesting considering the different discoveries that happened by those flybys of dwarf planet Ceres and Pluto. Osiris, hello, says Sawyer. Hey, Sawyer and Kathy, good to see you. Good to see you. And let's see here. Share it to Facebook. Done deal. And share it to X. Okay, that's good. Really expect predicts final collapse of sea ice within 4 years. The Arctic expert predicts this. It sounds like one of those people that predict the end of the world is going to happen in 19. What are they? How many times have they said it? Something. Uh, Sounds like one of those kind of people, even though he's probably not religious. But who knows? Maybe.
People would say that Doe predicted the end of
Yeah, that's right. And he's the only one that
the world. He said it was
not the end of the planet, right? And okay, so let's see. I go to my chat again and pop it out. So this tape that we just listened to, half of the beginning of it is talking about. Let me make sure this is still looking right. Yeah, it's looking good, I think. Um, the beginning of it's talking about those travels with his helpers, which I think at that point was Livorni and January. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think so, but I could be wrong. Because I think by that this was 1990, so it was June 22nd, 1990 that this tape was made, and uh, they had just he outlines in the beginning of it that he'd just gotten to uh, um, well, first Albuquerque, and then Las Vegas, and then Orange County, California, and then back to Phoenix or over to Phoenix, right? And then back to Albuquerque. And then I think they were in Colorado still at the time. and so back to Colorado.
But that a
Um,
place in
yeah, and he was gonna get a place in Castle Rock, but it just didn't feel right. Yeah, well, he felt like Castle Rock would be a good place to have one his craft potentially, and if it worked out, I think he was thinking that there could be a craft in Colorado Springs and another craft in Denver. Yeah, so we'd be able to, and who knows who would actually be in Castle Rock? It might be the people that do the jobs. You know what I mean? And so that it could work in either location. It would make it easier, to commute 30 minutes into either location for work. Which reminds me that might be something that we could do sometime.
Well, that's why I thought,
Yeah.
well, maybe we should. Colorado's not my.
No, but it might be someplace we can think about, put on our list.
Cause
Yeah. Right, right. The elevation is a problem. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not excited. I'm not interested really in being that area either. Anyway, so, but anyway, it's nothing wrong with that area. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with it. Anyway, but so he's talking about all that, and then he starts to talk about that when he was also talking about before that, just to set just some context, that he's been having a lot of back pain and the numbing of one arm, and I thought the numbing was in the arm, and
it
the leg
says.
was the pain.
Oh, I probably missed that part.
I mean, I might
I
I
thought it
might have
was
got
the
that
leg.
wrong, but I can look it up in my notes. But that's what I understood anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. Uh, but yes, it
Kathy's been
was.
going through a lot of back pain.
Yeah, Kathy's
So it
been
was
dealing with a lot of
interesting to
back
hear
pain.
Doe talking about being in back pain.
Yes,
I'm gonna
and
eat the bananas out of this so they don't get brown.
yeah, that's a good
And
idea.
then, because we have
Eat
bananas.
whatever you want of that.
Well,
Strawberries as well.
but there's a bunch in here.
Well, have them either way, either place, whatever. Just have
But
what
I'm
you
just
want.
telling you, I'm having the bananas out
I
of
had enough of that, but not that I wouldn't eat more of it.
it.
But
Yeah, you
I'm not going to eat all that the doughy stuff.
the crepe.
Yeah, I'm not going to eat that.
Mm,
I don't think.
I'm going for the bananas
Yeah.
to get them out of there.
Yep.
Do you want a bite?
No, I'm okay right this second. But I'll probably have. You can save me a little bit for later.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I was just saying, I'm taking the bananas out. There's a bunch of kiwi and blueberries still in there and
Yeah, I don't really
ton of
care if it's
strawberries.
too much. Yeah, I don't know. Take what you want, like I said before.
That's it.
Because
That's
we
all I
have
need.
bananas over there too.
Hmm.
So, alrighty. So, um,
Yeah, there's still.
so about 36 minutes into the tape, Doe is talking about being in California, and he was crossing the desert out of California, I believe, and headed east. Um, and he was having thoughts. I was talking about that he had back pain before because it was just the context that the experience he was having in L.A. in Orange County was really hard on his nerves because of all the traffic and all the um, you know the vibration there of everybody
Hustle
being
bustle.
so hustle bustle, right, and just in that motion, in that vein, and he wanted to have less uh, disturbance with that in order to maintain his uh, sense of connection with his older member, Tia, who was outside her vehicle at that time. Anyway, so and it's best to hear this from him. It's really interesting to listen to the entire tapes. I'm trying to encourage people to do that because of some of the content, of course, which is very interesting and very apropos to what we're experiencing today. I think it's not like it does explain things in a way that you're probably not going to hear too many people talking about it. You will hear some talking about it, I think, because other people are picking up on it because these thoughts were left behind by the next level, by Doe and T and students, the crew members, um, and they don't go away for a time. And so anyway, so I'm going to get right down to around the 36-minute mark where Doe is talking about being in California, crossing the desert, and that he was having thoughts that he felt like T was very close while crossing the desert, and that they felt like, he felt like at that point we were at the bottom, below sea level. So the radio signals weren't hitting us. Uh, and he got a different understanding about the Antichrist, what the Antichrist is. This is the way he feels like it happened. He had to be out of that. This explains why T and Doe always felt like they didn't want to go. They couldn't go very well and stay for any length of time east of the Mississippi River. Now, I don't think that's the case right now. The same. I mean, maybe for them it would be, but I don't think it's the same for us right now. In fact, I feel almost the opposite. It's like there's been almost too much saturation. Yeah, we're pushed to the east, seems like. And but anyway, but what Doe was experiencing, I think, has a very, very real relationship with, well, lots of people. Not just him, of course, because those radio signals can also be coming from the next level. But they transmit on a frequency that is not uh, uh, that is above the frequencies of what humans receive thoughts from and what humans transmit in their machinery, in their technology. Those radio signals, like this information right now, is coming over the radio waves, I believe, being transmitted. Or maybe they're, uh, well, I don't know. I guess at some point it's got to be made into, well, if it's all cables, and then packets are transmitted to the satellites. I don't know if you would actually call them radio signals. That spectrum, because humans define the spectrums, right? But that doesn't mean that the next level doesn't have a whole nother definition of the spectrum that they can work with, and some that they don't work with because it's beneath them to. It's not going to do any good for them to work with certain radio signals. People's thoughts and things that people are saying because some are just in the bottom of the barrel in terms of human being human, like being like it says in this Revelation 13 about the Antichrist. But I shouldn't get to that yet. So I'm not gonna go to that yet because I want to get to what Doe was talking about in around the 36-minute mark, and he said that. Um,
To see that you're on and everything, and then people can hear you.
oh, okay. Let me see. Let's see. Hmm, yes, I can see that it's still ticking for 14 minutes, and 7 are watching right now. Just double checking that. Hello, 7 of you, all. And yeah, if anybody can't hear me, let me just check on that because that certainly happened a number of times. Right, and just as Cyrus is the only one that's commented, and he said, if anyone is interested here in chat, here is a URL for the website Internet Archive. Lots and lots of hours of tapes. Uh, yeah, Cyrus. Yeah. See, I have to delete that comment because not because it's wrong or anything, but I'm being sued, and they can try to use anything against me. I'm being sued for giving people the tapes or playing the tapes. Okay, so they have no evidence of it now. Um,
Actually post tape.
oh, he just retracted the other one. Yeah, yeah. So sorry, Osiris. I really I'm glad that you wanted to do that. Okay, but it just complicates our case, our lawsuit potentially. It may do nothing. What I do I tell people that, all the time that they can find them if they try hard enough, and they shouldn't have to pay for them. And I encourage people to do what they want to do. And so that's and essentially I don't think they really have a case against me, but that's not the way the law works. You know, right? You don't have to have a case to file a lawsuit against somebody. All you have to do is be able to pay the lawyers to format something as a case. So so that's the bottom line with that. Okay, Matthew Carey says the sound is good. Cyrus said the sound is clear. We can hear you, Sawyer, and Matthew Carey. Okay, I'm going backwards in the comments here. Hello, Matthew. And uh, Cyrus says, sorry about that. I totally forgot about that. I get it. Thank you for getting it. I appreciate that because I do appreciate your effort. And I'm glad that you have access to the tapes and are potentially listening to them. Yeah, this is 475 that we're listening to right now. That's I think that he knows that. That's why he posted what he was doing. Um, and and so you can be my check partner and see if there's anything I say that doesn't seem to be what Doe is saying, and then bring it up and we can talk about it. Even though I have my check partner as Kathy right now, so I'm not really asking for that. But it is a benefit. The more people that actually uh, know what he's saying, the clearer we're going to get it. Yeah, yeah, right, right, right. We can all have multiple check partners. Yep, that's correct. That's what the classroom is now. It's a different type of classroom now. The classroom represents where the class members live. That's where the classroom is now. It's wherever those class members live. And class members are anybody that wants to be a class member in T and Do's classroom.
Part in the tape where Joe was talking about, we don't want these people coming. Like, they have a phone and they can call and, you stay over there and be alone and can
Right,
elaborate on
right, right. That it reminds of a tape we were listening to when Doe was thinking about
this
uh,
too.
278 or something. uh,
So,
having these locations where people could come to meetings and an office where they could communicate with people and they were thinking, uh, we don't want anybody to actually join us, be among us because it's too much work to have to bring somebody up to speed on everything that was had already been gained, and that's a little bit hard to understand until we start to really dig into what was happening. I think, but I mean, some might recognize it right away that, especially if they understand the progression. The progression is very important. Some people would say that, well, it started this way and it didn't end that way, so therefore, it got off track from when it started. And of course, there's going to be people that are going to say anything about anything. So that's to be expected, uh, though not hoped for. But uh, but there's you're going to see that each student had a whole bunch to overcome and a whole bunch to contribute because as they were overcoming their human characteristics and abiding by the instructions and the procedures and the behaviors and ways and to the best of their ability while they're actually with their older members living in a house that's near them or even in the same house sometimes. uh, um, you find out pretty quickly that they are way above us and that if we want to stay there to keep up, we have to change. We have to take their lessons and apply them. And it's not that we have to do it. It's that or because we can't be in the same craft with the older members and not abide by the same behaviors and ways that they abide by. It's really quite logical. And nobody in the human kingdom can abide by all the behaviors and ways that T and Do knew were on the criteria. Oh, I just got cut off. Or maybe it's just a video that got cut off. That's happened before. So, can anybody hear me? If you hear this, I want to continue, but the video's jammed, which is okay. I don't really do anything anyway. Okay, maybe it's back on. Yeah, it's back on. So I guess now it's going off again. So, yeah. All right. All right. So, that got me off my little train of thought there, but maybe I said enough about it. So I'm going to go back to what Doe said. I still haven't gotten to the meat of it about the Antichrist.
had a good day. The desert. Oh,
Yeah, Matthew Carey, the stream is lagging. There's someone named Kathy in the stream
I'm
that
doing anything.
no, it's not you. And yes, Matthew Carey. Yes, yeah. We think also. I can't speak for Kathy right this moment, but she can chime in and say something about it if she wants. But um,
There's another Kathy here.
I think you could. Yes, there's another Kathy, but it's not a Kathy Southwestern Colors.
Hello, Kathy, from another Kathy.
So, so Matthew says, unfortunately, Sawyer, Kathy and I believe Carl Lodi are being frivolously sued by Mark and Sarah, and they're going after anyone litigiously? How do you say that word? Litigation, right?
Litigious.
Litigiously, no,
It's and yes,
litigiously
the picture does.
for sharing the tapes.
Wait, the picture just flashed? Are you on your old laptop?
No.
Why would the picture still be flashing?
Oh, really? Well, it's been jerking around. It's losing signal, so that's why I think the picture's flashing. I don't think it normally does that because even the slideshow is stopping and starting. So anyway,
Because the last laptop did that.
um, so yeah, it can be considered to be frivolous, but it doesn't really matter. I mean,
Well, until the
the
judge
judges.
rules,
I
until
mean,
the judge rules it a frivolous
right? The
lawsuit, we're
judge has
stuck
to
with
rule it
it.
frivolous, and he hasn't ruled it that way. So it doesn't really matter to But I understand your point of view.
We have a hearing coming up.
Yes, we have a hearing coming up, and it's where we get to basically start discovery, and we'll see what happens with that. And there's so much to talk about with that. It would take too long, and I want to get back to the tapes, but uh, we do try to give updates.
So, Kathy is saying that she knew a member of Heaven's Gate
All right,
and is waiting to see. Oh, that's why you were saying her picture just flashed. Okay. Ooh. Well, I wasn't paying attention to who it was. Oh dear. Well, I'll pay attention if you say it again if you're still here.
right.
Right, it's kind of hard though.
I'm waiting to see her picture. Yeah, everything good in there.
Right,
Yeah,
that's what she
her
was.
picture just flashed.
And I
Okay.
was, we weren't even, we
All right,
weren't,
I'm
we
gonna.
weren't keen to it. I will pay attention to it again
Okay,
though.
AI is actually the AC. I don't. Oh well, there is an AC playing, in the background. That's true. I don't know if you're referring to that noise in the background. Yeah, it just went off.
Suzanne's picture flashing. Suzanne? I don't know any of their real names. Well, I
Oh,
would say vehicle.
oh, you mean Susan Paup? I think that's her name was Susan, even though I know her as Nora or Norodi.
Oh, Rudy's one of my favorite gals.
Yes, that's the only. I don't know if there was another Susan or not. I'm not
Oh,
sure. Oh,
AI is actually the Antichrist, the title.
oh yeah, AI is actually the Antichrist.
Sorry, Guy Fawkes, we are slow, okay?
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, sure, it's a facet of it, but you could
Well,
say
wait till
a
you hear what
characteristic
Doe
of it.
said.
Yeah, wait till you hear what Doe said about it.
Super interesting. Suzabu, or however they said their names. Well, her name was actually, I'll,
Right.
I'll
Who
type
is the
it.
Antichrist is the question I was asking.
I
So
think this
that's
is
good.
how,
I mean, I want to hear what you have to say about it.
is this how Nerodi's name was spelled?
Just two R's and a one D.
Nrrody.
That's right.
That's how her name was spelled.
Right.
She didn't go by Suzodi in the classroom.
No, there was no Suzodi. Suzabu.
I like Suzabu though.
Suzabu, yeah.
I like Kathy.
My
I mean, it
sister's
makes
name
sense.
is Susan. Anyway, so anyway, go
Susan
back
Cook.
to,
Susan Cook.
okay, hello, greetings. So around the 36-minute mark, here we go back to it. It's like, this doesn't want to come out, does it? It's, no, it's okay.
Go
It's,
on. Go on.
right. It's,
Just say
so
it.
when Doe was crossing, I have to recap for new people that just came in, but
Don't
in the 36-minute mark around that time, Doe was talking about, and these are just my rough notes and the spelling problems and everything else, because it's just rough notes. And
Don't get distracted. Just say what
if
he
I'm,
said about the
I know, because
Antichrist.
I get criticized though for
I
not
know, but we
formatting
can talk
things and all
about
that.
that afterwards.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. Uh,
Driving through the
he
desert.
felt like T was very close while he was crossing the desert, and that they were below sea level, so the radio signals weren't hitting them, and they got different understanding about what the Antichrist is. And so he said that he was talking about how all the Christian evangelicals, which we were watching at the time, by the way, on the satellite dishes, uh, to see what they were talking about, um, talk about the Antichrist reigning in the Holy Land before Christ returns. And one sign is that the Antichrist takes up their throne in the Holy Land. And he wasn't even thinking about it this before this thought came to him. And the thoughts were clear, and he felt that the Antichrist came seated in the Holy Land when the nation Israel became a nation in the 1940s and took over the Holy Land and claimed it as theirs, and that God gave it to them, and that they are anti the Christ. That is the most. Well, let me
Well, he said if you
say what
think,
else he said about it.
yeah,
Do you, okay, he said that the nation is run by those of the Jewish faith who are non-Christian Jewish people, though they have some Messianic Jewish people, but the controlling government is the old Jewish faith. The controlling government is the old Jewish faith, which is an antichrist faith, as can be, as antichrist as it can be. And they are claiming their land at any odds. And Doe said that it troubles him that the U.S. keeps yielding to them, and that he was proud of Baker. This was during the time that I think the first Bush was president. To give, he was proud of Baker when Baker said to the leader of the Israeli government at the time that here's a phone number you can call when you're serious about talking peace. And and that the people in the Israeli government that received that information, according to Doe, felt like they got offended by that. That being, that sarcasm, whatever it was. And then Doe began to talk about how uh, so many billions go to Israel. This is 1990,
90.
right? That so many billions go to Israel. He was asking the students if they knew how much because students were watching the news uh, all the time. Well, not all the time, but every day. But he said 3 to 4 billion go to that little country of Israel compared to many nations that are in far more need than Israel. Uh, but because they get the money because they don't want the United States people don't want to lose the political clout. and that and that George Bush the first went contrary to what Baker did, so that Bush ended up cutting off talks with the PLO,
What is the PLO?
the, the Palestine Liberation Organization. Originally, the president of that was Yasser Arafat, and so Bush cut off talks with the PLO because they didn't condemn some terrorist attacks to appease the hierarchy, and Doe was upset with the United States because of that. And then, uh,
It made me wonder what he would say about what's going on right now.
right, and then he went on to say that he's pretty sure something will occur, that all Arab nations, that all the Arab nations were offended with cutting off the PLO. So the other Arab nations say to the U.S. The U.S. at that time they were saying is now responsible for the wars that break out in the Middle East. Okay, so he was just talking about what things that he was aware of that were going on in the world at that time, and that he was talking about that there were thousands of Russian immigrants coming into Israel, which the Arab nations were disturbed by because of the numbers. I'm not exactly sure what the the
In the
direct implication
90s.
of the numbers.
Yeah, what the numbers were.
Yeah, but I mean, what was? Do you remember what from what he said? What the problem with why the Arabs were disturbed with the amount of Russian immigrant Jewish people?
I do not.
The reasons. So he was saying that from
I might have still been
that
listening.
the Arab nations were tolerating Israel is because of fear with the U.S. But that's gonna break things that are teetering. He didn't say claim to know exactly what was going to happen. Uh, but anyway, he went on to say that Gorbachev says that was talking to who was the leader at the time of the Russia Federation. Uh, he was getting a lot of flack. Forgot what the context of this was,
For wanting to step down.
because the democratization of these nations has gone away, and how difficult is backing is causing clashes. Okay, so because many things were unstable, right? And he was going to be forced out, or he was going to resign,
He
or
was talking about stepping down.
yeah, he was talking about
And
stepping down,
so people were
and
criticizing him and saying he must not, love his country or be a good, communist or whatever
right because they
if
were
he
losing
wouldn't
democracy
fight.
of these nations, and he was aware of it. So he probably was a decent person, to some degree, and um, he's the one that was told by Reagan that there was a presence, there was the existence of people from outside the planet that weren't human, that were, alien to this planet. Even Reagan used that word. I mean, we have recordings of that. Those several, like three different recordings of, well, one with where the story about Gorbachev was told by Gorbachev to the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, I think it was, or another Jewish organization that happens. I'm not down on Jewish people,
But what
just
you
whatever you're saying. I'm just saying that this is, what uh, is the greatest Uh, like I'll
Why is
continue.
it down on I don't know if anybody like did you see somebody saying something?
No, I just wanted to express
Yeah,
that.
well, it wouldn't be being down on Jewish people to say that they are anti Jesus,
Right,
which that would be
right.
anti Christ.
They would say that themselves, right?
Yeah, they do not believe that Jesus was the Son of God.
Well,
They
I
do
think
not believe
some
that he was the
individuals,
I know those are messianic Jews, but that's not who we're talking
yes,
about right now. So, Jews themselves would say that they are anti the Christ, so that's not being down on Jewish people.
right. So,
Although it does seem that does, sound negative to say they're the antichrist.
right, of course, yeah. It's
So it is valid to, I guess, point that out.
and it doesn't mean that the people themselves are in that category that live in that country. It depends on each one of them because there's all kinds of different people, that have different perspectives of even their own religion,
Well, like
just like
as
in the
we
United
as
States.
we were reading, like anybody that is anti-Christ is antichrist. So anybody, it could be
Which means opposite
any
or not
person.
opposite or
It doesn't
against.
matter what any race of person that is against Christ is theoretically, according to the Bible, according to Scripture, the Antichrist. Because there are millions of them
But
potentially.
the Antichrist isn't like one person. So,
Right, that's what I just said.
right. But they are, right. Okay. But, anyway. So, so Doe continues to talk about this whole subject. And he says that according to, if you want to play the prophecy game, because this isn't something that, by the way, that Doe talked about that much, but he talked about it in spurts. You'll maybe hear a little bit in every tape, maybe a tiny bit about, the Bible and scripture and prophecy, but maybe not. You maybe go many tapes without hearing anything about it, especially before he was thinking about going public for the second time, which I have more to say about that too, because when this happened and what happened after this, with because right after this, though, within 2 years, he did the Beyond Human series. And so his perspective kept on growing because that's the way a member of the next level is. They're never exactly the way they were before, uh, um, even though the commonality of mind will be the same. Um, the actual application of it in terms of the way they think about what's happening in the world, because there's free will in the world, is forever changing, potentially, in the way that he would see things from the perspective of through a human vehicle. So anyway, so he says if you want to play the prophecy game, that the Antichrist took his seat in Israel in the late 40s, then that had to happen before the Christ came. Um, we have to understand what the Christ coming actually looks like. And what it means is that the consciousness of the knowledge and the reality of truth of the kingdom of heaven is what comes again, not someone named Jesus. And he repeated at that time that Jesus even said, if someone comes in my name, don't believe him. So,
While also saying, I will return.
yeah, by also saying he would return, because who is going to be returning? Well, he goes on to say in this tape that who was speaking through Jesus, the vehicle Jesus, when he said he would come again. When he said,
And when he said that, that's when I thought of that question from the Beyond Human. Because that was one of the first questions that Junodi asked. Who was speaking when Jesus said, I will come again?
all right,
Yeah, and that's when it reminded me of the Beyond Human.
mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool.
Is that session one?
I know
No,
because
we didn't
none
get to
of
any questions in session
you
one.
didn't get to any. It's number two, I believe, and it's her first question.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong about that, but it's one of Junodi's
No,
questions.
I think I remember that too. Uh, so then he goes on to talk about uh, when Jesus said, pray that it's not in winter, the return, and because you're going to have to leave your family and when did that happen? He says those in the house don't even return to get your stuff, just leave. Uh, because I mean that was showing that it was a quick thing, it was a fast thing that needed to happen, that was going to happen because of those souls that were ready to take those vehicles into that classroom at the time uh, were like primed to be ready to just do that, even if they were, well ingrained in the world with, even with, having a family and a career and things like that. Uh, they would still, they might be troubled by it, you know, leaving behind everything, but that was what Jesus was talking about. And, so Doe asked Sorority in this tape, when did that happen? That time about praying in the winter and leaving everything behind, which is, a summary of some of that. And he said, in the winter, 15 years ago, which, for sorority in particular, I think he did join kind of uh, around October. So it wasn't maybe officially winter, but yet, but that was the season that was starting. That was the fall, actually. But that went on. We kept on doing meetings throughout the winter of 1975, and then we stopped doing meetings around June, um, because sometime in June, because T stopped the meetings in April. She said that that's enough. The harvest is over, and that was referring to the harvest of vehicles that souls were going to try to take over to become members of the next level above human, to work on spacecrafts that are laboratories that are as big as planets sometimes. Anyway, to have a physical vehicle. In other words, a vehicle at the next level grows for us. That's not the same as our flesh vehicles. It has more functions, more technology associated with them. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. But anyway, so Doe continues to talk about this and says that yes, that sorority was right. That is when you began your classroom. That was the top of the mountain that and you left all behind to go to Wyoming. That's like 9,000 feet sometimes in Wyoming.
Yeah,
Even the plateaus are on like 7,000 feet or something like that.
very big.
Yes, very high. So we went to the mountains, and he says, you were lifted up, taken out of the world. Roots were broken. Those that survived the uh, well, anyway, then it says I don't know what that meant. My notes are terrible there. I was trying to keep up. I'm not that good of a typist. Anyway, and I don't take the time to try to fix them because I'd rather leave them actually that way, so that it would be harder for them to narrow down everything to every little word that I used, to talk about the tapes. Anyway, so we'll move on from that. But I want people to, if they want to, actually hear this, to find the tapes themselves. Uh, so, so, so Doe is asking, in this tape that in the prophecy that he says he comes back with the saints. In other words, after they leave everything behind, he comes back with the saints, and you wonder what are they supposed to do? What are the saints supposed to do? So Jan Odie, one of the students sitting there at the time, and I was sitting there also, says to judge, and then Nora already says, yes, the ones that were lifted up, the ones in the world. No, she was asking a question actually. Are you talking about the ones lifted up or the ones in the world? And those says, that the Christ and the saints would return and judge the world. Now, what does that mean? Judge the world. Well, it's still happening, by the way, I believe, and I think I can say that that's accurate to say because Doe didn't give us a date that it wouldn't be happening. I guess as long as we can think about it,
Well, times
uh, huh?
is different in the next level.
Yeah, because time is different in the next level. They
They
don't, right, they have no time. They go by events. That becomes their timeline of things happening. So it's interesting that T and Doe, they always, like, when they would say that something didn't exist, they would always give you an idea that would help you understand why it doesn't exist in the way that it doesn't exist. So human time doesn't exist in the next level because they don't have clocks, but they do have events, and those events that they plan to have are a reference in time. So it doesn't mean that they don't have schedules and cycles. Doe talked about that. That there's this the recycling is part of a cycle that happens on the earth. So it's not there's a certain time frame with that, and maybe you could call it the precession of the equinoxes. The 25,000 year cycle, or maybe it's a 6,000 or 7,000 year cycle, where the 7,000 is the recovery of it to make it the planet into something that could either serve as a base or serve as a garden again. Anyway, so moving on. Uh, so the judgment time. See, I felt like the judgment time began more or less when they left, because that's when. But even during while they were here was judgment time, because what there was to judge was who were these people. And it doesn't mean that if somebody didn't judge them to recognize who they were at at some time in 1975 that they're lost or something. It doesn't work that way. Uh, um, the next level, every day or every week or every month or every year, whatever it is, when that subject comes up again for different ways over different times through society and everything, that becomes a new opportunity to see if there's any interest in that information and for people to pursue it to the degree that they choose to pursue it. Whatever their capacity is at that time and their desire. And so what's being judged is that the next level, older members, are judging, but the instruments of that judgment are the ones on the ground because they're the ones that are demonstrating uh, the next level thinking the most. And so when they were depositing thoughts, which was the first task that uh, students were given, and I was among them, so I know about this from personal experience. Um, uh, that was sending out next level thoughts, and therefore, people that were reaching for up, reaching to the highest source in their own way, whatever that way was, doesn't have to have any particular words to it. It can be just a desire to know more, to understand more, to seek more information, to understand things better, to whatever it goes into the religions, it goes into all the fields of it's our private moments and things like that, to where we have a tendency to like be drawn to the next level or not, and it's all a matter of degrees, right? So, um, so when those thoughts are being put out, even in 1975, 6, 7, 8, and by the media that happened in 75 and all that, right? I mean, especially a whole bunch of them. You might hear one or two people thinking that way, but this became national news. For a long time. It was talked about, and then So anyway, so that was the winter that was happening throughout the winter of '75 into near July of when we gathered in the mountaintops, not the very peaks, but on the plateaus in Wyoming at the Vidavoo uh, rustic camping ground. There were no facilities. We went to the rest area and filled our jugs up with water that was nearby on the interstate 80.
So high when I went there with Sawyer in 2021 or 2022. We went there that I got altitude sickness and we had to leave.
Yeah, it was pretty bad on Kathy's uh, physiology. Yeah, the dizziness, right?
Remember,
Yeah,
I couldn't stand up.
she couldn't even stand up
Could
sometimes.
hardly be in the car, but
Right, I had to help
we
her walk around,
we figured out that it was altitude sickness and the only thing was for me to get lower. So,
and that worked.
yes, it did.
We went to Utah, right?
Can't remember where we went, but we
That was
went.
still high altitude.
But it was not 10,000 feet.
Right, it wasn't that high. Right.
Whoops.
Anyway, because
Kathy can't be that high.
yeah, so that's the one way of looking at that those prophecies, and so I'm going to leave it at that. I think,
Go to the chat.
yeah,
Excuse me.
but I don't know if it's clear. I mean, not that I'm trying to. I just want to try to do the best job I can in trying to describe my understanding of these words. Judge. Jesus talked about it as he was advising people to not judge one another. And he taught in the same sentence, he also said that not to measure one another. Because I actually just realized this just now that measurement was like competition, right? And it's like people coming to you and saying, well, how could you know that when you didn't study that? You didn't go to seminary or you didn't become a theologian, so how can you understand the meanings of these words? I mean, that's just one tiny example. It happens certainly in the science communities and in society all the time. That people are competitive with each other.
Yeah.
You see somebody that's making more money, and you
We're gonna
think that
get, yeah, better position or tenure or
or they look better, in your opinion, or they dress better, or they have more, better clothing, looks nicer, it's more expensive, and cars and all that
money.
stuff is not next level. It's not from the next level. It's human kind of nothing. I mean, it's not like it's wrong, but you can't keep that behavior and become a member in on a craft in a lab in the next level. It would be like somebody in a human lab, that was raised on chemistry and they were breaking some of the initial rules, uh, not dressing properly when they went into the lab because they didn't want to spread bacteria and stuff. It'd be like something like that. It's not appropriate. It's not something that those lab members want to have around them. This is practical. It's not a moral issue with any of this. The way it's become made into that in a lot of ways. Anyway, so it's having their behaviors and ways. So if they don't have, you know, um, organs for reproduction, then the people that become part of them aren't going to have some part of their mind, you know, desiring to reproduce. That's just another aspect of the whole picture because they don't reproduce. So you can play that out in a lot of ways. Um, but so the judgment continues as long as there's something to where the judgment that Jesus was talking about, I believe, was judging what we are in relationship to what we uh, come to uh, desire to recognize is that we feel drawn to that is in this context talking about being drawn to the mind, the information, the behaviors and ways from the next level, as taught to us through generations that came from, uh, well, what is known to us as the Judeo-Christian heritage, which Islam is part of that also. But the primary and Hindus and Buddhists, and that's another part of the experiment. And that doesn't mean it's any less or more because it, uh, souls can grow in all different ways. And the next level is in charge of how they grow and even helping them come to the area where the older members are coming to take vehicles.
Now, I was just thinking about it and about the Jewish thing and the Antichrist thing. And there's more qualifications to being the Antichrist, right? Like you have to go against Jesus. So
Yeah.
are the Jews going against Jesus?
Well, that's what I was saying. I was saying I don't know that they are because,
Yeah, I don't think
th-
that they are. They think he was a good teacher, right?
right, some people think that he was a good teacher, right. There's lots of people that think
So just
that
not
way
just
about him.
yeah, you just
It,
not believing doesn't mean you're like automatically an antichrist just because you don't believe.
not in that negative context,
Yeah,
that you're condemned or something like that.
right.
It just means, because that would be what the Antichrist would want us to think about it. That it's like, oh, so you're telling me I'm going to hell because I believe in, you know, Jewish Messiah, that Jesus wasn't the Jewish Messiah.
Right, right.
We're not saying, I'm not,
No.
that, and those not
I
saying
had to
that
think
anybody's
about
going
it
to
more.
hell because of that, but it's just a practical reality. It's so if the Christ represents this body of information that was delivered by the individual that was considered to be Jesus of Nazareth, then that's the Christ information, right? And that's so if the Christ information is indicating that if you do this and this and this and this, you will um, grow to become even a member of the kingdom in the next level, in the kingdom of heaven, a, a member of the next level in more accurate terminology. And uh, and anybody can change also. So even if you were like a staunch believer that uh, in anything that's I mean, well, I don't know about anything, but uh, you can change. But you're going to have to reach to the highest source in the distant universe, in the heavens, in your mind, to try to get the attention of somebody that can help us change. And that's one of the benefits of having problems that humans aren't solving for us. And because then we might be more inclined to ask for that help with those problems. And that's a form of asking. And the next level can use that to help somebody have more perspective and more desire to grow in that direction. And it's not easy to define this. It's not meant that we actually define it to the nth degree, but it's also not meant to consider that it's all or nothing, because that's also a trick of the lower forces to say that if you don't do all the things 100%, that you're condemned. So why even try? And that wouldn't be a next level member. The goal is always something to reach for. And sure, there's all kinds of tricks to keep us from reaching it all. I mean, let's face it. I have trouble thinking that there's any value to me doing these streams. I feel like nobody really cares that much, and I just don't sometimes have the energy for it. And then like, thank goodness that I was going through that, but I was still doing streams even before I met Kathy. But fortunately, when Kathy and I together, she says something about what did you want to do a stream, and I did want to do one, but I just wasn't expressing it because I was letting thoughts say that there wasn't time, or all kinds of little distractions. So we all have the distractions, and we all can also keep on moving to grow more, to learn more, to find more. And I think that well, it's not for everybody at the same time, because everybody's not in the same grade at school. And that doesn't mean that somebody that's into this information is in a higher grade than somebody who's not in this information, because you don't know what they've overcome and what they've conquered in their life. If they've conquered an addiction that was a very dan- you know uh, dangerous to their life and even harmful to other people, addiction, then they've gained a lot from that. And so whether they know about T and Do or not, um, we can't judge somebody as being on that growth path. That's for the next level to do. We have to know that about ourselves, that we really can't judge others and measure others. Now we can measure and judge what that we don't want the behavior that some have. Just like, we don't want to be around people that are, uh, you know, doing violent things, in the streets or wherever they're doing it. We want to get away from that. And so, if you don't put yourself in circumstances where that can happen more easily, then you're less likely to deal with it. So anyway, that's just one example. Of course, there's a lot of examples. But let me go back to the chat. because I might be getting to a close. Okay, let's see. Guy Fox, I see you made a lot of comments, and I'm not saying anything about them, but I'm probably not going to be able to comment on each of them. Maybe I don't know if you're asking me any questions because you're it's like you're preaching here, like asking somebody if you can summarize real fast. But who you're summarizing to, I don't know. But there's like he's got like 100 comments in here. So
Oh yeah, they're having conversations with
yeah.
themselves.
So if you all having conversation, that's fine. But I'm gonna have to kind of skip over them quickly. Paul Powers, hello.
We're just catching up.
Yeah,
Matthew Carey, the tape we were on, if you didn't hear already, was 475. But we're still back in 279. We just skipped ahead for just that
right.
because we wanted to listen to the Antichrist thing. Oh, yeah, he got me. So,
I
Yam,
get it. That's your opinion. That's
do you see
fine,
the
Guy Fox.
the Yam Ranch Records person?
No, I didn't get down there yet.
The AI stuff and being the Antichrist, that's I don't know if you need to, but I
No,
think
I don't think.
the Yam Ranch person says if you didn't follow the class up until the end, part of you must know that it was all fake. You would
What was
have,
that?
if you didn't follow the class up until the end, part of you must know that it was all fake. You would have followed through if you truly believed. Prove me wrong. And then Guy Fawkes asked what was fake, and Yam says Heaven's Gate, all of it. And then Yam goes on to say if Sawyer truly believed he would have followed through and went with the class. So, yet another person telling you that you should kill yourself. And then he also says later on that you didn't follow through. You pretend to believe for attention. I'm just going through really quick to see what else, if they've said anything. They might have already gone, so I don't. It looks like that's it for that person.
Guy Fox says ignore the criticism. Sir will always be that online. Yes, we know. Yep, I know. It's. I expect it.
Yes, you were discussing your thoughts. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Uh,
But I think you can address the Yam Ranch person. That's why I just cut through to.
ChatGPT or Grok said it was Peter Thiel
Do you want
that
to address what I
was the
just read?
Antichrist. That's funny. Well, yes and no. I mean, if somebody's telling me everything about myself, they know better about myself, then what am I going to say about it? I can't, I can't address all these hypothetical ideas that people have about why I left the class and what it means to me to be talking about the class now, and if I truly didn't, if I truly believed, because you've got a simplistic idea, in my opinion, of what belief really is. Belief isn't everything. just like if I could say I believe somebody went to the store. I just saw them leave the door, and they always go to the store at this time of day. Uh, uh, you know, that's true, right? Okay, so I'm believing something that's probably true, but it might not be. I mean, maybe he doesn't go to the store. Maybe he goes to the laundromat instead. I don't know. And so belief is just, that's probably not a good example, but it's just not very strong. It's because what you also don't maybe recognize, and maybe you do, and I just don't know how to talk to you about it through the few words that you've expressed, um, is that uh, um, it's a it's a it's a it's like a muscle making machine to be to get rid of lower forces is a process, and it takes muscle, like for someone to conquer an addiction. So I can believe 100% in the process, but that doesn't mean I'm going to conquer all my addictions to the degree that is required for the older members to graduate my soul into next level membership, because it's the process is the soul taking over the body. And so that's why, like, conquering an addiction is a form of development. And you'll hear Tiendo talking about this on and off, I think. I know they did in several ways. When they embraced Alcoholics Anonymous and Sexaholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, that those individuals were considered to have a lot of force. That's another thing that people don't recognize, that not everybody has the same amount of force, and so some have a more difficult test than others have. It doesn't mean that everybody uh, um, doesn't eventually get the same lessons. They do, but it might happen at a different time. There's some that aren't ready to uh, um, well, even when they joined with T and O in the beginning, there were some that believed everything they were saying made sense to them, and they felt the power of T and O's mind, which is something that I definitely experienced on and again every day for 19 years, and that's no lie. Uh, um, so, uh, um, but they didn't feel ready, and T and O even said to them that maybe you'll be ready the next time. They didn't say that you would never be ready, because they wouldn't say that. They wouldn't want to take that person and give them or give the lower forces a reason for them not to still work in that direction with whatever they have on their minds and in their hearts to do in that regard. And nobody knows how much any other person is thinking about uh, wanting to serve the next level and wanting to, you know, and so it's kind of a cruel kind of judgment to try to imply that if I didn't leave with them, that meant this and that meant that. And it's like, why do you have to jump to that negative? Why is it anybody's business anyway? It's none of anybody's business.
So I want to just there seem to be a lot of new people here, and you guys don't seem to know who Sawyer is. Um, so I'm just going to answer that really quick. Um, the you guys are asking why the Heaven's Gate pictures. What about, so if you can't, I'm surprised that you you don't know where you're at, but that's okay. We'll explain it. Sawyer was in the Heaven's Gate group from 1975 to 1994. So that's what this whole live stream is about. I don't that T and Doe were the two teachers, leaders, however, gurus, whatever people want to, however you want to refer to them, of that group. So that's why there's pictures of them. That's why the Heaven's Gate. So that's what's going on with that. Guy Fawkes, it doesn't seem like you know that. Yes, Kathy, that's what we're saying. Sawyer, this guy right here, was in the Heaven's Gate group for 19 years. I thought that was pretty clear.
Yeah, Guy, there was no murder. Even the coroner said there was no murder.
Well, I
So,
don't see anybody saying anything about
well,
murder.
he's Guy Fawkes says I just have a plan how to do it without mass murder and death.
Well, I think he's referring to something else that was being talked about
Oh, okay.
a really long time ago and
All
just
right.
about the apocalypse or, God in general in the end
Okay.
times, whatever.
All right. So I guess
Yeah,
Kathy's looked over these comments, so I'm going to skip past them.
Kathy's saying that this stream just popped up in her feed. So yeah, like that's what's that's great. It's totally cool that you're here. Right, and Guy Fawkes did not know that either. Like they did
Uh huh.
not know that you were in the Heaven's Gate group. They didn't really know what perspective you were coming from or what you were talking about, I guess. Like
Okay. I see where I'm catching up to you finally. Yeah, I'm going to just go with
yeah,
what.
normally like what like we that's why Sawyer is kind of like reacting to so many comments like other streams I'm sure are totally different, whatever, but normally like people just come in and like ask him questions and don't really like carry on discussions with each other. It's totally fine that y'all are doing that. It's just not normally like what has happened over the last 10 years of him doing this live stream, just so you guys know. And so now Kathy is wondering if you knew Nerodi.
Yes.
And he was in the class with Nerodi for 19
Yes,
years.
that's right. That's right. So I know
So he
Nerodi.
knew her very well.
Yes, I was a partner for a brief time. I wasn't her partner that often. Partner meant you were like a you were both crew members. So you didn't have. It's kind of a difficult picture, but uh, the bottom line, I guess, was that you didn't have a human relationship with anybody else. And what I mean by that is uh, you were only in relationship to uh, to be in the school, same school as a class member, and
So she's
learning.
saying she just said that she left many times and they would come find her.
No, no, she
I don't.
didn't.
What?
No, she didn't leave many times. It was this. I don't know who that's referring to. I mean, I forget if Silvodi's name was Susan also. But already, has she already agreed that it was no roadie?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I don't
Well,
know.
but she's saying before she said that her name was Suzanne Cook.
Oh no, that's Silvodi.
Okay.
That's Silvodi. Yeah, she left twice, I think.
So now we've established. So Matthew Carey just asked, "How do you know Nerodi?" So no, it wasn't Nerodi. It was Silvodi. We just established that.
SLVODY, right? So I actually was assigned the task
Sorry,
by
Kathy.
I was assigned a task by Doe, and sometime in 1992 or three, I think might have been three, to meet uh, um, Syl Odie and her husband, Just Odie, who had both joined at the same time in 1975, but both had left between then and 1992. Um, I met them at a motel up near Flagstaff with my partner Alex Odie, I think at the time, because Doe wanted to like
So you were
get
the
a little feeling about.
so you were the one that came back and got her.
I wasn't looking for her. They got in touch with us.
They got in touch with you
Yeah,
guys.
because Doe had put out the Beyond Human tapes, but that might have even been before that. There were all kinds of uncanny
So
so-called
wait,
coincidences that happened with
so
people returning.
hold on. So Silvodi joined the class in the 70s.
Yeah, 75.
She joined the class in 75 with
Hmm.
or without her
With,
husband.
yeah, with her husband.
Okay. And then when was the first time and what year did they leave the class?
I'm not sure I remember exactly.
But you said it was in 90, they left sometime before,
I want to say the 1980s.
so sometime in the 80s they left.
Yeah.
And then you personally, you yourself, went to where Silvodi and her husband lived in 1992.
No, not where they lived, because they lived in Sausalito on a boat. They were
Okay, but so in
living on
19
a
in 19
boat
in the year 1992, after they had left in the 80s.
when they had gotten in touch with Doe somehow.
Right, but wait. So from when they left the first time the class and sometime in the 80s and between 1992, they never once came back to the class to join the class?
Not that I know about.
Okay. So, and you never left the class in that period, right?
No.
So they left the class one time in the 80s. And then in 1992, you personally
Mm-hmm.
went and met with Salvoti and her husband
Mm-hmm.
in 1992.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then they rejoined the class after that.
Yes, they did.
And then they left again sometime.
Then Just Odie left again,
But
but
Silvodi never
Silvodi
left
didn't.
after 1992.
That's right.
So you personally came back and got Silvodi and brought her back to the class in 1992?
Yes.
Okay. Can
Uh,
you
I don't
explain
know if
like
we were in the same car. I
can
don't.
you explain like that meeting and how like what you guys said to her like
There wasn't a whole lot because um, I
I
think
just wanted
we
to establish that it wasn't like the group was
this
coming
gonna
back and
this
kidnapping
might
them or
sound
something.
strange, but we brought them soap so that they could take like a tick bath,
Well,
not a
but
tick bath,
okay,
a
so
lice bath, kind of thing, in the motel that we were in, so that they would be
okay, well
because
that's kind of like off the
yeah, but I mean that was one of
so in
the particulars,
1992, they had seen the Beyond Human series. It must have happened somehow.
right,
And they got in touch with Doe and
right,
said, what did they say?
right. I don't know. I wasn't on that crew of communicating with
But
them.
Doe must have said something to you to send you guys to go collect them, I guess.
Yes, he said that. Well, I knew because you
Can
can
you
hear
just say
throughout
what
the
he said?
tapes
Can you just,
that they were back in touch and they wanted to rejoin.
okay. So they asked to come back into the class, and
Right,
so you went to
right,
go meet with them
right,
and then travel back to the class with them. So it
right.
wasn't like you were dispatched out to go find them and
No,
kidnap them and bring them back into
no,
the
definitely
class.
not. Definitely
Okay.
not.
I just wanted to make sure
That
that it
never
was
happened.
clearly
Anything like that.
understood that they asked to come back into the
Oh
class.
yes,
Okay.
yes. They wouldn't have stayed there
Because them, saying,
for a
and
minute if they were
they
kidnapped.
convinced her to go back. It doesn't
No, there was
sound
no
like
convincing. We didn't have to talk about anything in that motel. Uh, we just were like just getting a feeling for them and
because before that they'd been in the class for 5+ years,
yes,
so they knew,
yes.
okay.
They knew what was going on. They were there.
I don't know why people just like do you think that like they were completely like brainwashed in like one
Some
meeting
people
and
do. They're told that.
they were completely mesmerized
People,
for
the
the
media has
next
told people
years,
that
or
was the truth.
like they're not as smart, intelligent people?
Right.
You knew them,
They were quite smart and intelligent.
so they were
Uh,
making like sound decisions,
Just Odie, when I met with him in 1970, 1995,
and he made a sound
he was
decision to
building a
leave.
chair that was like really good for the back and the health, a physical chair,
Hmm,
and he was at the same time. It was interesting. He was trying to program a computer to be able to win money by betting on sports events,
that's funny.
which he never accomplished, I don't think. But it was
It's
interesting
probably
that he
hard
was doing
to
that
guess
because
those
Pip
numbers.
Odie was doing that also. I don't think it was because of just Odie doing it. And Pip Odie had left the class a little while after Just Odie and Silv Odie left. Now, it is, you know, uh, you see, it's impossible that uh, a member of Tiendo's crew or Tiendo would go find somebody in order to convince them to rejoin. If they had to go through that kind of an effort, they weren't going to bother with that kind of effort because it wouldn't work anyway. Because of the degree of changes that each individual needs to make upon themselves in order to stay with that group, it was impossible to be brainwashed into that group.
Guy Fawkes, you should go ahead and just Google Heaven's Gate. Like if you don't know anything about it, like it's really like it was something like you should go Google it because I don't know how long you've been streaming for, but like that's like
Let me ask
a
Kathy
very
something.
long.
Not the Kathy on the live stream. What's the name of the daughter,
She
Kathy?
already said it, Kelly.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know Kelly also, and Kelly knows me by name
Yeah, she
because
says that she went to
her and
high
her.
school with her daughter in Colorado. Suzanne worked at the same restaurant as I.
Okay, so okay, if for some reason at some point while they were gone, uh, they went looking for the class or something, or some class members they met up with the class members when they were traveling around for the first year, almost a year. Uh, I don't know what happened during that time with them. For all I know, they could have had meetings with people
But they
before the
didn't rejoin the class back until 1992.
right, but when they joined, I wasn't there when they. Well, I don't think I was at the exact same location where they joined, and I don't know that I had any knowledge of who they were until well after 1976.
We're talking about 92.
I know I'm talking about that things could have happened during the time that I knew nothing about, that Kelly might know
Well,
about that I
she's
don't know
talking
about.
about 78, 79, or 80 when Silvodi came back to visit and then left again. Everybody went and visited their
Oh, okay.
families and then they went back to the class and left again.
Right. We did have visits in 1985 and 1986, 7, somewhere around 6 or 7. I don't remember the exact months. We could probably document it though with the tapes, which we did. I just don't remember off the top of my head right now. So yeah, those were two visits that Tiendo actually sent us to visit with family uh, the first time. they wanted us to do that as a task to relieve their anxiety about us. Was the task that was at that time, because I know this was hard on Kelly. I'm sorry about that. That it's taken a toll on her, but I I don't know what I can't I can
Well,
try to
you're not.
bring
It's none of your.
perspective to it, but it's she's not asking me for that, so
Yeah, it's not your. That's.
it's not my business to talk to her about it.
She's not your daughter.
I mean, I did have communication with her a number of times over the years when we met together after her dad, Just Odie, invited me to be on the 60 Minutes show in 1976, and I went and with Kelly
76?
and my
1976?
yeah
1976, you
no
were on this.
1997
Okay, thank
in
you.
April 1997. Just Odie had invited me to be on the 60 Minutes show on CBS, and I went. I traveled from upstate New York, and I got to there from Carmel. I think I was in Carmel, New York, and I traveled to New York City, and I met Just Odie there, and Kelly was there too, and so that's when I met Kelly, and then we were three of us were on the set for the 60 Minutes for two segments of the 60 Minutes three-segment show. And I don't think I had much communication with Kelly at that time, but we did have some communication, uh, maybe by email after that. And then other times, in years later, when the Heaven's Gate podcast came out, I was talking with Kelly through email or through comments on Facebook or wherever it was. Um, and that's the length of interface I've had with Kelly. Um, and now Just Odie, I ended up uh, going living staying at his house in Las Vegas in 1995, and he was a painter, and he was painting not art. He was painting buildings inside a building with a big spray gun. It was bizarre, but I helped him do that work, and it was like he was dressed in this costume that covered his whole body, and the whole place was like a fog with the spray gun painting all the walls. Anyway, it was
That
funny,
sounds
but
toxic.
so I got he paid me for that I needed to work at the time, and that was the last time. I think that was the last time I met with him in person. But then I communicated with him quite a bit before he decided to leave with Riccoti. Anyway, I'm not going to move on. So, uh, you know, I'm not saying that there's not a possibility of different interfaces, but the idea that the group was trying to get them to come back uh, wouldn't have been a group member that was authorized by T and O. Not that they wouldn't send somebody to meet with them on occasion
If they had asked for
if
it.
they had asked in some way, because otherwise they wouldn't even know where they were.
Because nobody came to meet with you.
Right. But there were ways that some people like Riccoti and even Osco, not well, Oscoti and Rio had ways of getting in touch with me before they left to know that there was opportunity for me if I took it to be back in communication with them. So they always kept an open door to the ones that left. Like they even said in the last tape we listened to that if members left the group, uh, in the minds of T and O, they weren't leaving the class; they were leaving the craft if they were sent to leave.
So, Kathy just asked, how did you get out?
Uh, it was easy to get out. What was hard was staying in. There were no doors locked. I mean, they were locked from the inside so that people on the outside of the house couldn't just walk in. But but it wasn't a lock that we needed somebody else to unlock to leave, and that's why people left in the middle of the night sometimes. That happened many times. Rick Cody left in the middle of the night with Cody. Dan Sody left in the middle of the night from a campground in New Mexico, and then T and Do didn't want him to be just wandering out in the desert, so they sent two individuals to talk to him. And when they talked to him, he decided he wanted to come back. And it's not that they were trying to get him to come back, but they wanted him to.
So
Uh,
when did you leave in?
so I left. I was given $600 and a plane ticket to wherever I wanted to go. And I wanted to go to be uh, in Arizona because I thought I could get my old job back, and stay and potentially stay with Mark and Sarah.
Do you think that Silvodi and Justodi were given money when they left too?
I don't know. I would say maybe not. It depends on how they left. Like around the time that they left, which I don't know if they left on the same day. I just wasn't aware of what everybody else was doing outside of the location where I was, because sometimes we were in three different locations. Um, uh, and and even in a camping situation, we were in different locations in the national forest.
Right,
So we didn't really know what was going on at the other locations. And there were all kinds of tasks that people had, and they probably had uh, some instruction because of the nature of the fact that two parents leaving a child behind was certainly a difficult circumstance for everybody involved when there's love involved, and there is. And so P&O made exceptions to the idea of going back to the family, and I know about some of those exceptions. I just don't know specifically about any exceptions that were made for Silvodi and Justodi, Silvodi and or Justodi. So I can't talk to
I
that.
think that she's already passed them
Yeah.
and asking how you left the group.
Kathy says, I'm sorry if that is a disrespectful way to say it. Well, I appreciate you, saying that. Um, uh, and, but I'm not really offended by it. But it is something I'm accustomed to hearing once in a while. That because the media really drilled it into the people's consciousness that this was a evil, murderous and everything else that they would say about Tiendo and crew, and that the believers were naive, people that were so needy they needed, and the whole list of things that were said about the believers. That I understand that it seems like it was something that people were captured into when that wasn't the case. Um, I've talked to that idea, but I don't want to go to that idea right now because it takes too much effort to try to describe uh, what drew members to being a part of the group initially. But I don't think any of them that I know are the kind of people that were easily convinced of something. I know I certainly wasn't, and I proved it many times because I had many opportunities to join a number of groups. Because when I was living in Oregon, there were all kinds of people holding meetings every week here and there and dancing in the forest, with the Sufis and meditating on Sri Chinmoy's face and going to astrology readings and going to meditation groups and meditating and seeing like bright balls of light floating in the middle of the room that I didn't go to some of those meetings, but I know people that went to it and told me about it. And I didn't disbelieve that it was possible, but at the same time, I didn't know what they were experiencing. But I mean, there was so many things that uh, I think, especially in those years, the 1970s, was like huge, and that continued, for people through the 80s and 90s, and still continues now. But so I'm not going to say that it was an unusual amount of exploration
I think the
happening then.
70s were, though.
Yeah, I think they probably were
People
because,
don't really seem as, into, you know,
yeah,
meditate, it's just different,
there were so many communes starting up.
Yeah,
There were so
just totally
many
different.
intentional communities. They didn't even have the word intentional community at the time
Mm,
that I knew about. But I was a part of two of them that were groups of people that were banding together to live on some land with their kids and stuff and try to live by nature and grow food and and believe in certain things. A lot of times people were joined together by their beliefs and you know there were some of them became big stories, where the leaders were, of course, became terrible people, abusing people, and trying to keep them in the group and keep them from talking about the things that were happening in the group and threatening them and all these human things that were happening, and none of that was happening in the classroom.
I'm gonna lay down, okay? It's 8:30.
I'll be pretty quick, I think, because I'm about tuckered out, even though
We
that,
go to work super, super early, and we've taken the last 3 days off. 2 days off?
yes,
2 days off.
last 2 days off.
Three for me. Okay, let's see in a bit. And it's his birthday. He's 74
I'm
today.
74,000 years old today. And that's not a good thing. That's
And
not
I'm not
saying
on
that,
camera because I got a lot of hate.
right. And
But if you care to go back to old live streams, I'm on camera.
yes.
Oh, the sky is
And it was a big step to be on camera in this subject, especially. It's a huge step.
I gotta
I
switch the
mean,
AC
if
out
I hadn't
here.
been prepared for it, I certainly would have the same challenge. So, we get prepared for it by doing it, right? And so I got that. So Kathy says, I understand one of the members of the family was related to Lieutenant Uhura on the original Star Trek. And thank you for sharing. And yes, you're welcome. Yes, that was Destody. And Destody was Lieutenant Uhura's character's brother. I believe younger brother? I'm, I'm not positive about that. I don't remember for sure if it was younger brother or older brother. But we all knew about that, from the well, near the beginning. Um, I was Destody's partner sometimes. When we were living in tents, I was his partner, and occasionally when we were living in houses. And I like Destody a lot. He's I think he's perfectly alive. His soul is in a next level grown vehicle. And he might actually be hearing us right now because they may be trying to help uh, us in any way that they can, according to guidelines that they have. And those guidelines are require um, effort and mind and making choices. They're not robots, like pushing buttons to say certain things to us. I mean, maybe they do have some things that are sending the communication the same way that we have communication methods. You can write a text and you can send the communication to somebody, right? So they have their own ability to do that, even through radio waves that humans don't know how to decipher, exist, don't know how to interpret, don't know how to capture and identify as communications coming through thoughts, because their radio waves are different than the radio waves that thoughts are communicating on. Thank you. Happy birthday, Kathy says. And yes, thank you for reminiscing with me. Uh, uh, and Matthew says, happy birthday. I used to sing it to my daughter. Happy birthday to you. Not that, I was just goofy. Brother, yes, I think so. Younger. Did you talk about stuff? I certainly hope so. Suzanne as well. Uh, well, no, we, I mean, just we didn't talk about stuff in the classroom. That was part of the classroom. If we wanted to talk about stuff in our human lives, then really didn't want to be in that classroom. We were learning to focus on changing our minds to being uh, only of the mind of T and Do. And that's, when people say that's, oh, yes, so you were brainwashed. Yes, but we had to do the work to brainwash ourselves. We had to change our thoughts. Nobody could change our thoughts for us. And people, I know that this is not easy to understand and comprehend, because even if somebody believes what I'm saying, they see this, this backlog of mind that says, well, they killed themselves, so you really can't take to heart anything that they say. And so that's the same kind of voices that people in the class would hear about Tiendo. I'm not saying that exact thought, but the same kind of doubts. And so they would have to decide whether they believed those doubts or they wanted to get rid of those doubts. And if they wanted to get rid of them, then the faster they could get rid of them, the better. Because until we get rid of the doubts, we can't receive more of the truth. It's a matter of almost like space, like time and space. It's like occupying of a space of our minds. We can't occupy our minds with something that we're reaching for if we're always thinking about the past. And we were reaching for something that was beyond human, and we didn't even know what we were reaching for exactly until it was described by us day in and day out, described to us day in and day out through Tiendo's teachings, behaviors and ways, and procedures and instructions and guidelines and ways of thinking and concepts and everything. Because they were from outside this world. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And there's so much proof of that that anybody could actually see if they would let themselves see it. But as soon as they let themselves begin to see it, they are going to get a battle. And it's supposed to be that way, because by battling, if they have the stuff of continuing on, in whatever pace you want to describe it as, if they keep on going in to try to understand what this was all about, and they will start to get, I think, an understanding of it enough to where even if everybody thought they were crazy because of it, they would still come to think that, well, if I'm crazy, this is the greatest crazy that there could be. It's so interesting. It's so revealing. It's so demonstrating answers to so many questions that people have been debating for centuries and millennium. All really come to a very, very precise pivot point with the T and O information. Because, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the most difficult thing that a human could do. And now, that doesn't mean that the, the members of the next level and the members of the human kingdom, the members of the next level that are outside vehicles and those that are attempting to be some degree of a student to the older members, T and O, uh, should have a position against suicide because they know that they are in human vehicles that need to learn a lot of things, and that that the only way they're going to grow is by having a human vehicle to experience with. Now, this is where people they don't know necessarily how to judge it, and I understand that. That those members of the class, they were actually very, very advanced. I'm not saying that, you know, uh, I am of that advancement, but I believe I did have some of that, a good share of that advancement. But it's not for me to decide how advanced I am because it's up to the next level. You know, that always goes without saying. But I'm just bringing it up because those individuals had enough advancement to where the next level uh, decided to um, let them leave the way that they had planned and that um, they felt good about. Even if they had a little bit of some reservation in their minds, to them, to that individual, I think there was some indication of somebody that might have had some reservations. And I'm not talking about Livodi at all. I don't know who I'm talking about exactly, but I forgot where I got that impression. But uh, um, they, the way I described it to Doe, when Doe asked me if I had any reservation in person about going through the procedure of uh, uh, um, surgically removing testicles, that I answered to him that my vehicle wasn't looking forward to it, but I'm overcoming my vehicle. Now, someone can say, well, that was stupid, but you know, uh, that's a that's a very uninformed response because, and the evidence of that is that why wouldn't I have the right to make that choice? How many people override their vehicle when their vehicle wants to do something that is harmful to the vehicle and they override it? They still want to do it. How many people want to override their vehicle when they have a little bit of fear of going to surgery? But their mind tells them that this is the right thing to do at that moment. And so they go ahead with it. And, how many people have, you can go through the list It's not like it's an unusual frame of mind to have. But to think that it's automatically wrong because it was part of this group was that had these so-called aware of what's that? It's not accurate. Um, so Kathy says they wanted to ride with Haley Bopp, the comet, in the early '90s. That's not exactly true. I mean, it's become the common way of thinking. This is how things become mythologicalized. I don't know if that's a word, but mythologized. Yeah, whatever, right. But it's like they even said on their website that it didn't matter to them whether there was a companion object with the Hale-Bopp comet. The Hale-Bopp comet represented to them the uh, um, the marker. They used the word marker, I believe, of the timing of their departure from their vehicles, and they were ready to leave with their vehicles. That's why they brought a little money with them and a change of clothing or whatever they have in that regard. A little satchel, little travel bag, because they knew that tea could pick them up their bodies and even heal them from that substance that they ingested, and then have them maybe do another task somewhere. Beam them on board the spacecraft, whatever kind of elevator system they have, and then go to another location somewhere and maybe do a task in Australia. I don't know. I'm not saying that was one of the options because Doe didn't know what the options were, or if he did, he didn't. We don't have the tapes that we're talking about that uh, um, to hear about it, which we'd like to have, but that's another story. But Kathy's saying that Suzanne did have reservations. Well, if she did, huh? Yeah, how do you know that? Um, the vehicle. So what's the evidence of that? I have to, right. I'm waiting for a response. I don't know when Kathy will get it, but I would like to know why you say that because, uh, I mean, she left the class, so there was some reservation in that. So I can agree with you. I guess at some point there was some reservation. But when she rejoined, I didn't see reservation. In fact, you can see her talking at the Missoula meeting, I think, that 94. Right. It's a long time to be with somebody and still have reservations. Plus, Doe was asking each student if they had reservations in public and in private. And if they did have reservations, they would express it. That's why Rio left. That's right. Because he knew they were preparing to leave right from when he joined because it was on the posters. We talked about it at the meeting in Massachusetts, and we talked about it at the meeting in San Clemente, I think it was, or or Laguna Hills in California, in Orange County. Exactly how we were going to leave, and that was in 1994. So, so Kathy is saying that Kelly told you, and yes, I'm not saying that she didn't, but When she had reservations was the big question. So I'm not denying that she had reservations, because like I said, she left the class. So no doubt she said that she had reservations about something. I don't know if she's talking specifically about the exit. Well, I can't assume that from what's being said.
She said she had reservations about exiting her vehicle.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Well, she didn't say those exact words, but she said she had reservations. She said she watched her in the exit, the last video that she was on, and she looked distressed.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's not where is that in the chat?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know that she was distressed. That's an interpretation.
She's talking about. She had
But
reservations about exiting.
but Kathy is saying that Kelly told her that she had reservations. So then Kelly would have got that from the exit video, I guess. And this becomes rumors. This becomes a hearsay. Who said what, when, and what? And was it their interpretation, or was it because of what the person say? Did Silvodi talk to Kelly on that day or before that day, or and say that I have reservations for being here and leaving? I doubt it, because if she was going to say that, then if the class members were around to hear it, they would say, "Why are you saying that? Why don't you go back? Why don't you leave? Because we don't want you to leave because we want to leave."
That'll mess all of them up.
That's the way I would have been thinking. That's the way I was thinking. That's the way all the members would have been thinking. None of them had any interest in anybody being there that didn't prove to them day in and day out by their behavior, ways, and thinking as it was displayed. And it was displayed. Believe it. I don't know if you can believe it, but when you live in close quarters with somebody all the time, day and night, you you see when they have a sad face. You see when they're a little bit grumpy. You see in their voice the way they say certain things, if they've got reservations about doing a task, or if they're lashing out on people with anger, or misplaced uh, unhappiness that's being put out on other people. That was happening in the classroom a lot over the years, and Kathy and I just listened to a couple tapes in the 270s that showed how many problems a number of classmates were having. And that Doe was suggesting that they not some of them maybe should spend some time outside the classroom. And he did set up a halfway situation, even though he didn't like that terminology, but to where they could be uh, making their own choices apart from what was being happening uh, in the classroom, where you were making choices. You were making the choices of T and Doe because you wanted to make the choices of T and O. It's like going to school and being in a chemistry class and really liking the chemistry teacher and the lesson program and wanting to do everything the way that chemistry teacher teaches it. And that if and being in a really good chemistry class, if you started to want to do things differently than the way that chemistry teacher was teaching you, the chemistry teacher was going to say to you, "You're not following instructions." And so this experiment isn't going to come out right, because there's certain things I want you to learn by doing this experiment precisely this way. Can you follow instructions? Because it's very important, because you can make big mistakes by doing little things differently. And that's the way the classroom, believe it or not, that's the way the classroom was. that T and Do were the lab instructors. They knew the difficulty of conquering the human mind, the human thinking. Well, uh, I'm not trying to convince anybody in the way that they're going to, come service me in some way or give me something or, well, I want to give people a chance to see things a little bit more accurately. All right. No, 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 I don't want to stay up any longer. So, uh, yes, came back to Colorado and left the vehicle to make a new life. Yeah, I know that Kelly was being raised by her grandmother. I knew that. And yeah, so I think I've said about all I can say about this right now. Uh, yes, yes, I know. I I don't disagree with any of that about um, what Suzanne was doing when she was outside the group, and that's I'm not trying to say that I know better about what she was doing from your experiences. So, and I know